What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a Facebook post in a comic book group where an individual poses a hypothetical question that has been a very kind of controversial question in the comic book hobby for many, many years. We're going to get into this. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the links in the description below as well. But let's just start off. Let's just read what this individual wrote. As you can see, we have a picture here of some awesome, mostly bronze and copper keys right here. But the individual says, and it's from an admin of this group, so I love it. This is a real critical thinking conversation, and we're probably going to get a lot of opinions on both sides of the scale here. So you go to a yard sale hosted by an old man. There is a box of comics listed at 25 cents each. You see this picture below. In one of the boxes, do you buy them at the asking price or do you let the guy know? So, again, this is an age old question. I've heard it many times, but it never gets tired. I think we could go into a deep dive of like Kantian ethics, and dive into some deep philosophy of what, you know, boundaries of ethics are or morality in how we conduct ourselves in life. And back down to the simple question of what is right from wrong. So you have a situation where you have the first appearance of Wolverine. It looks like the 180 and 181 there. You have first appearance of Venom. It looks like the first appearance of Punisher there at the ASM 129. Um, and some other Venom books. Obviously, these books are worth anywhere from a couple hundred to, a few $1,000s. And this individual has an asking price. So if you go up and say, "Oh, how much are you asking for these?" The old man, young man, I mean, a lot of people could say, "Does that even matter?" And he says, 25 cents each. He was like, "Oh, you'd be like, oh, are you sure? 25 cents? Yeah, 25 cents each. Okay." And you proceed to pay the individual 25 cents each. Essentially, you have done nothing wrong because you paid the asking price. But we all know that most of us would feel like it's not that black and white. It's just not that simple. So before I go into more of my own personal opinion, let's dive into what a lot of these community members had to say here regarding this type of hypothetical situation. So we're going to start with the Bird right here says, "I'd ask how they got the comics. If by chance or in a clearance slot, etc., then it's my lucky day. If they are family heirlooms that they didn't realize the value of, it's their lucky day instead." So I think I actually don't really know what Bird is saying here. Is it saying that he's gonna pay the asking price, but if it was just something they inherited, it's their lucky day because at least they're still selling them? Or is he saying if it's a family heirloom, he would let them know what their value is and pay them a fair market value and it's their lucky day? Like I don't really understand that, but let's keep moving on. Saeed here says this is one of those situations where you hand them a $20 bill and tell them keep the change. Cause I mean, look, you got one, two, three, four, five, six. What is that? Seven books there. So really, just a couple bucks. Asking price is a couple bucks. Here's $20. Keep the chains. I mean, that's a big profit from what they're asking. Let's see what somebody said here to that comment. I think that's kind of funny. So it was like 100%. Hey, I mean, again, and I want to hear all your guys' thoughts in the comments below. I mean, is that not fair? You're paying well above asking price. I, yeah, yeah. Jonathan here says, "I'd have to tell him and show him the proper value of each book. I couldn't take advantage of somebody like that." Well, let me tell you, Jonathan, you're assuming that you're taking advantage of them, right? You're assuming that either A, this old man or whoever it is doesn't know the value, or or B, that they actually care. And this is something that I've heard a lot over the years when people come into situations like this. I don't care, when somebody says, "Hey, do you know how much how much these are actually worth?" And somebody will say, "I really don't care." You want them, have them for what I'm asking. People are like that. But let's see what the replies to this comment said. That is very un-American of you. Congratulations. I think Jack is being a little sarcastic and cynical, making a joke there. He must be Canadian or something. Oh, that's funny. Royer says, I'd ask if I could get them for a dime each if I bought them all. Oh my God. So again, obviously, guys, they're not being serious here. That's pretty funny though. Now that's how you do business. Okay. I saw this same picture twice the past year. Well, obviously, I think this person, the admin that's posting, is just using it as an example. This person here says, Jonathan says, I tell him the value, maybe even help him sell them. Who knows? Maybe he even gives me a cut, but if not, then that's okay too. Somebody's laughing at this, but I don't know why, because you know what? That's a fair thing, and I've been in situations like that before, but kind of on the flip side, kind of like I've been in situations where, you know, somebody is asking, somebody has junk, and I tell them straight up, like, honestly, I wouldn't pay more than freaking 5 cents each for these books, but even then, I'm not going to buy them because I'm not going to be able to sell them. I'm not going to be able to upprice them and sell them. And but then I give them information on how I think, you know, say they were asking like $2 each or $3 each for like real nasty grade low quality dollar bin books. I'd say, maybe bundle them up and ask, a dollar each and see if you could sell them as a bundle. And then, things like that, to where I am still helpful with them, trying to, be honest with them, yet allow them to understand how they could still work the market to get a decent amount without being basically essentially bought up at a dime, at a penny for the dollar, right? But this is definitely a different situation because there's a lot of value here. But let's continue on. Let's read a few more comments. Moving along here. Let's see. Jacob says, buy the comics, give them money later if you feel inclined to do so. If you tell somebody those comics are valuable, say goodbye to getting a fair price. And why let somebody benefit for free off of your knowledge? Okay, this is one that's going to boil some people's bloods and that's going to start arguments, I think. But you guys know me as like argumentation. Let's debate these things respectfully, of course. I'm not saying I agree with Jacob, but when you get down to like really what's wrong and what's right, what did I go back in the beginning of the video and say? If you pay him the asking price, essentially you're not doing anything wrong. Jacob brings up some good points. If you tell somebody the comics are valuable, I wouldn't say goodbye to getting a fair price, because a quarter each for these books is way more than a fair price. Maybe you tell him the value and he actually gives you a fair price. A fair price could be, maybe 10% under a current fair market value. That's fair. Why do you think they call it a fair market value? So I don't like the verbiage there, right? But you're right. You give up that possibility of getting these books for so cheap, but that's why you would tell them anyways, because you feel your moral compass, you would feel wrong taking these books for a quarter, right? But I like what he says here. Why let somebody benefit for free off of your knowledge? And this is something that I have absolutely said. We live in an age, I don't care, they say this is an old man. Well, what's old? What's old these days? Are they like senile? Are they 100 years old and crippled and suffer from dementia? Like, what is old? Are they just retired? I mean, at 65, people that are 65 years old, most of them still have a working brain with a lot of knowledge, as somebody that is 30. They might be even have more knowledge than somebody that's 30, you know? And the internet, ask any 65, 70-year-old how many of them don't use the internet? I mean, come on, the internet has been around for over 30 years now. So they were, if they're 65, 70, they were in their mid to late 30s when the internet was coming out. So I, there is viable reasoning for anybody, even at that age, to know what eBay is and to know how to do a Google search saying, how valuable or how much is Hulk number 181 worth? You don't need to be an expert. How many 65, 70, 75-year-olds have sons and daughters that are like in their 20s, 30s, or 40s? Hey, son, I came across these comic books. You know anything about comics? You know, you can even pull out you don't use the internet, pull out a Yellow Pages, find a comic book store near you, and take them to a comic book store. I'm not saying sell them to them, but I think most comic book stores, most would be fair enough to look at these and say, okay, you got some value here. And even a comic book store wouldn't say 25 cents each. All I could do was 25 cents. No, they're going to pay you at least a good chunk, you know, maybe even if it's just 25% of the fair market value, that's way more than a quarter. It's way more than $1 each. So I like Jacob's response because they have the ability. I don't care if they're old or they're not into comic books. And here's the thing on the flip side of that too, to where I appreciate what Jacob's saying. If you want to feel sorry for somebody that knows nothing about comics or an older person selling comics in a garage sale, not knowing their value, why is it that so many older people or people that don't collect comics or know anything about comics, why do they most of the time have this idea, oh, it's a comic book, it's a collectible, it must be valuable? Because more often than not, we don't see these books going for a quarter. We see quarter books going for $25 because, oh, it's a comic book, it's a collectible. So I do have a hard time, like Jacob said, having to do the work for somebody where there is so much knowledge out there in this day and age to where people should know, man, could this hold value? Even if it's only $20 to $30. So, again, I mean, maybe just playing a little devil's advocate here, but again, love to hear your thoughts below. Brad says, 2 words come to mind: ethics and integrity. If you understand the meaning of these words, then you know what you should do. So, Brad, I appreciate your concept of ethics and integrity. I think we live in a world where we lack ethics and integrity, hands down. But I think that Brad's comment and Jacob's comments are the two sides of the coin. And I think we need to find a middle ground. That's what I think. I think we should go into these situations with a level of ethics and integrity, but with also not having to be, in the words of the kids these days, like essentially a simp. If you guys know what that means, you know, where we go out of our way to, you know, be sympathetic to somebody that could have easily done their job. I think there's a middle ground, because then again, I go back to what I said in the beginning of the video. Whose rules are you basing your code of ethics on? What level of philosophical base are you basing your ethics and integrity on? I do believe there's a middle ground here. All right, let's look at a couple more questions, and I'll give you guys, or excuse me, responses, and I'll give you guys my final opinion on the matter here. Jay says, I'd keep the 2 I need, sell the others, and bring him 75% of the sales. Wow. Wow. This is another, I think, great response. What if you buy these for $2? Asking price. Okay, let me give you guys an example. I have every single one of these comic books except for a Hulk 181. I have every single one of them. What if I bought them for $2? Sold and I'm gonna assume, you know, I press and clean, so I'm gonna assume these all look decent too. I mean, if you even look at the 129 as you can see there, I see maybe a couple of little non-color breaking spine ticks. Obviously, we can't see all the books, but they look at least decently in like maybe the fine plus, and I see on the 300 there looks like there's some stuff that could be pressed out. Say I sell, between the 129 and the 300, say I could get maybe I don't know, anywhere from 50, I press and clean them. All those books outside the 181, I could get anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 for those books. And I might even be able to get more. You got the looks like 299 in there, 300, 301, early Carnage, and then 180. If I come back, because that Hulk 181 in that condition probably is going to be more valuable than $2,000. I haven't looked at prices in a while on these books, so, and I bring him back everything that I sold those books for, because I still only paid $2 for a Hulk 181, and I come back and give him $2,000 and say, you know what, you had some books of value here. Uh, I know comics. I know how to sell and make money off of them. Here's $2,000. What do you guys think of that? There's no need to tell him, oh, you don't know what you have. Let me tell you. You don't do anything wrong by giving him the asking price. And maybe you even give him a little more. Maybe you do give him that 20 and say, keep the change. And then you go sell him, keep the one you need, and bring him back $2,000. What do you guys think of that? I would love to hear your thoughts. Is that fair? Is it ethical? Is it more than fair? Even though you weren't upfront with him about the value. I would love to hear your guys' opinions on that. Man. Eric says, I would do what everyone in this group would do, whether they admit it or not. Take the comics for the price provided by the seller and walk away happy. And look, I'm going to be completely honest here too. Eric, I think not everyone, but I think you speak to a lot of people. And I'm going to be real, some of you may be watching and I may be calling you out right now. I guarantee you there are a good handful of people that are acting all ethical and integral, so to say. Holding that integrity up and acting all ethical, saying, man, the right thing to do is to tell them. But damn well, if you were in that situation, you'd be giving them the 20 and saying, keep the change. Come on, a lot of you, I know it. Because I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I'm gonna give you guys my honest opinion. But I'm not in this situation, and I don't even know how I would react. I don't. Let me read maybe like two more comments. I'd ask if he had more, Nico says. All right, let's read Adam and Mark's comments here, and then I'll wrap this up. I've come across keys like this at yard sales twice. I offered them both $500 and show them what they could be worth. One deal and one no deal with a thank you. Okay, Adam, I like that I read this because this kind of goes to what I'm going to summarize here. But let's read Mark's comment. Last comment I'm going to read. I'm not the normal person. I would pay him the asking price. Once the comics were mine, I would explain value in grading. I'd probably then, I think he meant to say, let's see, he said, I'd probably give him about an extra $2,000 determined on my appraisal of value. If they say no, then I'll take them as is. If they then argue the value and want them back, I walk away with them and they don't get the $2,000. Wow, Mark. Now that a little similar to buying them, selling what you don't need, and then giving them remember I said giving them the $2,000. This is kind of similar to that, but some people may see this as kind of like cocky and kind of cold in a sense, but honestly, I like what Mark has to say too. You paid the asking price. You didn't do anything wrong. And even though it seems kind of cold that you don't tell them the fair market value until after you pay the asking price, it's fair game, right? And then he's willing to sit there and give you $2,000 more dollars. Wow. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts on that scenario. Man. All right, guys, let me sum this up. Like, first off, I learned a lot just today from reading these comments. I mean, these comments have really opened my mind. But I am going to be honest and say again, it's like I don't I don't know what I would do if I was actually in this situation. Okay? And I think probably a lot of us that have never been in this situation, I think that's probably the God honest truth for us. We could sit here and say we want to be ethical and all this stuff, but I just think we would really not know until we're in that situation. I think it was one of the first comments I read that said, they said I would ask, where did you get these? Because I've done that. I've done that before, and I think that can give you an idea of, you know, if you feel like you are taking advantage of them. Say, and I think I've said this before. If they're like, well, especially say it was a woman, and not that gender has anything to do with it. I mean, even if it was a man, but usually it's the man that majority men collect comics. I mean, I know women do too, but you probably wouldn't see an old man saying, "Oh, it was my wife's collection and she passed away," and or something like that. Or what if you asked, "How come you're selling these? Where'd you get them?" And it was an old man that said, "Well, my wife is like in treatment for cancer, going through cancer treatment right now, and I'm just trying to get rid of everything that I have." But then again, it's like, well, why wouldn't you actually look up the value of these if you needed money for cancer treatment? Because you're not making money selling them for a quarter each. But and to say it was a woman, oh, my husband just died and he was a big comic book collector, and I just, I didn't know what to do with them, so I'm trying to sell them. Like, I do think like those types of situations could probably tug at your heartstrings. And depending on the answer and how you feel about the interaction in the person, you might really feel that empathy and understand that this is a situation where you feel that your value of ethics, your value of how you value integrity and what integrity means to you, that's how you're going to base your decision. And that's okay. You as a human being have the right to walk away from this feeling good. But I'm not going to be necessarily mad at somebody who says gives the or pays the asking price and walks away. If that makes you feel good and you think that's okay, I mean, I can't be mad at you. The only thing that we can do is what makes us feel okay ethically and morally. And I really do think that for me, it would have to be on that individual basis. I would ask them like, you know, comics, not all comics have value, but these are older comics. And, you know, have you looked up the value? Have you attempted to look up the value of these books? And again, depending on what they say, a lot of people might say, you know what? I really don't care. I just want to get them gone. And then I may say, well, honestly, I know for a fact that these are some valuable books. And because I know that I wouldn't be able to come across these books um, at this type of value ever in my life, I still want to pay you something that makes me feel okay, knowing that I'm still getting an amazing deal. And maybe I give them a couple $100s. Maybe I don't need to tell them exactly what the value is, but I say, can I give you a couple $100? Because I feel like even that, even if I try to buy these at a comic book store, I'd be paying a lot more than that. And I don't know. And then, yeah, and maybe even if I say that, then they'd be like, well, how much are they worth? But again, if somebody already said, I don't care, most likely they're not going to say that. They're going to be like, yeah, I'll take the couple hundred. Sure. So again, I don't think there's any black and white way of doing this. And you have to really play each situation, individual situation, as it is, and walk away doing what you feel is best for you and your idea of ethics, morals, and integrity. Because those are important in life. They are. I would love to hear all your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Be well, and until next time.